Yep.
Okay.
I got my drink made and it's beautiful and it tastes so yummy. So I don't know, Brendan, if you actually made the drink, but
I did not. Have you actually made it?
I did. I
That
did.
is
Mine is not a
impressive.
kiwi. I didn't have any kiwi, but it is a margarita.
Okay, well, that's good enough. I just love the look of it. Um, and it is too early for me to be having a cocktail right now, but I'll enjoy you drinking it.
Hmm.
Yours
Well,
is yours looks lovely, Liz.
it's so good. You know what? I had like a little piece of cantaloupe, so I actually threw that in there too. I was like, why the
Ooh,
heck
that was
not?
smart. That was super smart. Well, seeing lots
I
of our friends
went
come
for it.
in. Hey, Stacy. Hey, uh, Murph and Bryce and Beth and Boant and Cynthia and Dan and Karen and Kathy. Hey, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us today. It was so sweet. I got a message from Stacy. We'd gone on a little bit of a hiatus, and the last episode that we had scheduled, we had an illness, so that our guest was not feeling well. And so we ended up canceling it and rescheduling it. Well, really rescheduling it. We're gonna have more on that later. But then we took a little hiatus because it was the end of tax season. So we're like, we'll
Yeah.
just, we'll wait till tax season is over and we'll come back. But we never changed the title that said we were sick.
Oh no.
And so Stacy's like, "Are you guys okay?" So thank you for checking on us, Stacy.
Just sick of it all.
We're
Yeah,
fine.
second of all,
We're fine. We were just apparently not on top of things. So I apologize to everyone for worrying about us, but we're doing just fine. And
Absolutely. Hanging in there, enjoying ourselves. I'm watching my garden grow, and that's something that I haven't been able to do for years because I always said I was growing children, not anything else. And now that my kids are old enough, I am enjoying gardening so much. And I feel like week
wow.
after week right now, I'm just watching my plants bloom.
I love it. I have not planted my garden and I'm sad I have to do it. And in fact, my friend was telling me that I needed to jump on that like now or I'm not going to have a garden. I have flowers, lots of flowers, but
All in
no
the
vegetables.
timing, the timing of when you do these things. Who knew?
I know.
Yeah.
So I think Liz,
I'm
she's
here.
back. She's
I had
back.
lipstick on my teeth, I think. So it's a girl problem.
Unacceptable.
So
Well,
you
Brendan, we're
should see
so
my
excited to have you
slides.
on today. It's been a long time coming. I mean, we connected a couple of years ago when you first showed us Ader. We were really excited and it's finally happened. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Yeah, we met super early in our life in the US, and a lot has changed since we met as well. So yeah, lots to talk about, but it's so good to be here. Thanks for staying in touch as things as we meandered our life to where we are today.
Absolutely. And big news. I mean, you guys have joined the Carbon team, which is
Correct. Yeah, that
exciting.
was
And we're excited to see some of we got a little preview of it, of some of the embed that's in Carbon. So excited for you to show
Mm.
everybody that.
yeah.
So awesome. Yay.
Well, yeah, and that was probably the biggest change. You know, when we first met, we were just starting up in a little New Zealand startup and coming to the US and on our own. But since then, late last year, Carbon acquired Ada. So we've kind of been heads down building a new upgrade and building some deeper integrations into Carbon. And the timing of this is amazing because we actually went live with those yesterday. So
Wow.
you'll, yeah, I know you had a sneak preview, but most of the rest of the market hasn't seen it yet. So it's exciting.
Nice. Exciting.
Absolutely. And there's the profession has a lot of respect for carbon. And so to join that team, that's something that, gets a lot of exposure. And we're excited to see that integration because, workflow is where everything happens.
Yeah.
It's like the heartbeat of everything. So to be integrated at that level, I think is really important.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. I agree. And that was one of the reasons, that this thing happened. And we can talk about it later. But I ran these. We knew we wanted to be integrated into the workflow, and we were building an integration into Carbon last year. And then I ran these AI and accounting summits, these kind of workshops in Australia and New Zealand, and then did them across the US. And Carbon sponsored them. And so what was interesting was just we got to know each other really, really well. And through all of that and through customer feedback and so on, it all ended up becoming an opportunity that we both took advantage of. So it's been fantastic to work with them. They're an amazing team.
Absolutely. And brilliant. Ian's just brilliant. And the
Mm.
whole team are
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
people.
Great
Well,
people,
I'll
great
keep
culture.
this moving. So, Heather, I would say most everyone here knows us, but I'll start with a brief introduction. My name is Liz Scott, and I have an accounting firm, and then I also have a consulting firm. And so, the consulting firm is really fun because I get to work with a lot of technology partners and give recommendations as to what the profession is looking for. So it keeps me really busy. And then Heather, you wear a ton of hats over at Woodard. So if you want to give a brief intro.
I do. So I still do a little bit of accounting work on the side, but it's more of a friends and family program. So I'm not in public practice anymore, but I do have what I think is one of the most exciting and fun jobs of my entire career, um, which is I'm the director of education and media at Woodard. So can you believe this is going to be my fourth Scaling New Heights that I've been
Wow.
part of this year? And I am in charge of all of the breakout sessions and the main stage sessions at Scaling New Heights. And I'm also the senior editor of the Woodard Report, and I do a podcast with Joe, which is really fun. We do that every week, and it's super fun. And it's so fun because when we started the podcast, Liz, I was like, just kind of cut my teeth at Woodard, and we were very serious, and we did a lot of monologues and things like that. And now it's just silly. I mean, it's not just silly. There's a lot of really good stuff in there too, but
But you
the
can have
tone
a
of it has
personality and
changed.
playful.
It's playful, and we
Yeah.
have a lot of fun. We do a lot of cool things on it. So if you haven't checked it out, you can find it on almost all the podcast platforms. But that's something that if you're a podcast person, throw it on and give it a try because it's gotten silly. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I did a rap. It's horrible, and it's not even a rap. It's a ridiculous rendition of me reciting all of the mergers and acquisitions, the names of the firms
Okay.
for the previous month, but it's just terrible. But it's probably super funny um, because it's embarrassing. It's like an embarrassing thing. But yeah, we do have some fun.
Well, you have to in life. I think that that's one thing that, as you age, you start to realize life is short. You got to make it enjoyable. You've got to make your life enjoyable. And speaking of enjoyable, like you were saying, Brendan, we met you a few years ago at a conference, and I had recently heard about Ader. And so to see you front and center at the showcase floor, I was thrilled to walk over and had a chance to be able to meet you in person. But for a lot of our audience here, they haven't had a chance to meet you. So you want to give some of your background?
Sure. Thanks again for having us here, Liz and Heather. My name's Brendan. I'm the founder of Ada. Live in New Zealand, so this is just gone 8 a.m. On Wednesday morning in Auckland. Originally from South Africa, though. I was born and bred there, grew up there, moved to the UK, lived there for 10 years, and moved to New Zealand about 15 years ago. So I'm kind of around the world kind of person. I just do spend a lot of time in the US. I just got back from a few days in Scottsdale, Arizona, with a bunch of accountants there. And there were a couple of, I think there was a Woodard person there as well. So, yeah, I've been in the accounting industry for probably about 15 years. Ada is my second software startup in the accounting tech space. Both were started in New Zealand. So love the industry, love working in the space, and started Ada quite a while ago. Well, the first iteration of Ada, which is nothing like what it is now. It's a big pivot story, but the it was always to do with the accounting and the accounting data and small businesses and so on. And this was back in 2017, 2018 when I registered Ada.ai and started to build our own AI platform because I just felt that AI was going to change the way we did things. And back then it was very difficult to try and convince people that AI was an important thing and no one cared about it and no one had heard about it. And now it's like everybody's in AI. And so the world has changed a lot since we started.
Yeah, I would say everybody is hearing about using it and curious as to where we're going with it. And I think that, the writing's on the page now that everybody's seeing where we're going, but how are we going to get there? How are we going to get to this place where the AI is our assistant and it's actually in our the way that we work daily, hourly, and so the way that we're watching a lot of technology merge our work habits with AI is very cool. And I think that, we're going to get to see some of that today. So I'll just keep us moving and say I'm already drinking my drink. So if you've been watching me drink my green drink, it is yummy. But we want to say thank you to our sponsor, Ader. And here is this drink right here. So kiwi, yummy. It's one of my favorites. It reminds me of spring that we're, right in the middle of. Tequila, oh my gosh, who doesn't want to have a tequila party? And then lime juice is always just yummy. And the only thing that I did differently is I was saying I had a little bit of cantaloupe. So I threw some cantaloupe inside mine and it's super refreshing. So if you're looking for a summertime cocktail, this is it. So we
Mhm.
can share the drink recipe with you later, but AI and accounting. So, Brendan, you tell me, do you want to drive the slides or do you just want me to keep pushing as you
Um,
say?
I can let's start off with you do that, and if we start getting too much, we can switch over. But um, I thought what we might do just before we jump into Ada itself is just talk through a little bit of what's going on in the AI and accounting space. There's not enough time to really get into the detail. So I just wanted to touch on two or three things, but given how fast this moves, I submitted these slides a couple of weeks ago. A whole lot has changed since then, so we might just kind of talk at a very high level instead of going into the detail. So, Liz, maybe if you go into the next one.
Sure.
Um, one more. I just did a real try to do a quick summary of this, which is really these underlying models, which is really cha what we should all be paying attention to. Is the underlying large language models and what's going on with them, because they impact everything else. All the apps that we might use are building on top of these things. So it's really interesting to keep an eye on what's going on with them. Um,
That's a great point.
yeah. And so
Mhm.
what since this, OpenAI has now released the top left there, GPT 5.5. That came out in the last few days, and it's meant to be a next level up on all the other ones that are out there. But and prior to that coming out in the last few days, Anthropic's models have been really, really good. And there's been a big switch of favor from OpenAI and ChatGPT towards Anthropic and
Mhm.
Claude. Anthropic makes Claude. Um, and there were a few things going on with Claude, and I think for the users of or your listeners here, um, for this audience, there's a couple of big differences between those two. The LLM models, I think they're going to keep leapfrogging each other all the way across. Google and OpenAI, Anthropic, and all those others are going to keep doing that. So it's hard to pick a winner there. So it's kind of let's step back and look at who's doing what for different industries, how they're approaching the market. And OpenAI has been very mainly consumer focused with a bit of kind of, big deals in the background. But if you notice, just talking about the likes of Zero, in our world and also Intuit, they both announced strategic partnerships with OpenAI last year. Since then, they've both announced strategic partnerships with Anthropic. They've
Yeah.
both flipped from one to the next. So if that gives you an idea as to like no one knows where to place their bets right now.
Mhm.
Um, OpenAI has been very consumer focused, except for a couple of big partnerships, including Microsoft and so on. Anthropic, their focus has been on enterprise and business. So it's a lot more robust around building a business on that or using within your business. And I think they've got the head start in that space. So for a lot of the people that I'm talking to, Claude is where it's at. Claude Cowork, Claude is super good for businesses. So if that helps somebody get things started, um,
Mhm.
I'd go there first. But then there's lots going on with Google and Grok AI as well, which is owned by X, which is Elon Musk's thing. So those, just keep an eye on those main models. There's a bunch of others as well, DeepSeek and a whole lot of others. But really, when you see what's going on with those, it makes sense as to what's happening with the rest of the industry. If you switch to the next one, Liz, um, this is kind of what I think we all want to keep an eye on here as people in the industry is moving away from what most people use as AI is the chatbot. Ask it questions, give it prompts, get it to come back with things. That's a good entry level use case and still has some really good things going on. But the big shift has been over the last year or so and will continue to be agentic. So what that means is an AI agent that can pick up and solve problems and do things for you and actually executes actions and workflows. So instead of it just answering questions, it'll go and do things. In order for it to do things, it needs access to tools. It needs to be able to access the tools that you use, and the tools that what we're talking about is internet applications like Ada, like Carbon, like Zero, like and so more and more these agents have got access to their tools, so you can ask it to do something, it goes and does a job for you, and that really does start to free up time when you get it right. So look at what's going on in the industry, and there are people rolling out agents everywhere. And I think the
Hmm.
two big things that you'll be seeing from software vendors like Ada and everybody else is that we are going to be building agentic solutions on our platforms, number one. So everybody will start to build agents, and you'll be able to sign up and use agents on Ada, use agents on Carbon, use agents on those platforms because of this direction. That's the first big trend that you'll see. And then the second big trend you'll see is software companies like Ada and everybody else should be building for agents. In other words, we have two categories of users for the first time. We have humans using us and we have agents using us.
Mm.
That
That's
means you,
interesting.
as Liz or Heather, will have your own Claude or you'll have your own
Hmm.
OpenAI, whatever you decide to use, and you will be users on Ada, but your agent will also be a user on Ada, and your agent will go and do things on Ada for you. So that's a different mindset. It's a big shift change that a lot of software companies are trying to get our heads around. And you hear talk in the industry about MCP servers and things like that. Those are to allow these agents to come in and do things on your behalf on the software. So just
You
that's I
know,
think a very interesting shift in the industry in the last year alone is we now have to build software for humans and for agents.
I think that, it's a really good point. And one of the things that I'll say here is that 2 weeks ago, I wanted to build an agent that was able to go and utilize QuickBooks data and then go ahead and use some operational data and then pull that into a database so that way it could create a dashboard for a client. That's the kind of scenarios that you're talking about. And I would say a lot of the people that are on this call are app builders themselves. They've been playing with it, they've been thinking about it, they've used Zapier, they're familiar with it. And so, what you're talking about is this is starting to get easier and easier. And as you're developing tools, you've got to think about the people like, those that are here that want to create these kinds of dashboards like I did for a client that don't exist anywhere else, but I need it in order to be able to do advisory for a client. But then also you're saying inside of the app itself, be able to have these, aider agents that can do things that aren't just a workflow and a process, but are actually thinking for whatever the scenario is.
100%, yeah. And they're getting really, really smart in that you don't even have to ask it, you don't have to tell it what to do. You just have to ask for the outcome. And I think that's the difference between a good agent and the agentic future that we're going to is like, I want you to do the month-end close for this client. That's the outcome. It'll go and work out what to do and navigate its way around and go through the different steps and come back and ask you, hey, do you want to do this or do you want to do that along the way? Just get your permission on certain things based on rules and then go, yep, okay, I'm happy with that. And it'll go off and do the rest. So it does the outcome. And
Mhm.
that's very different to what we're used to doing with software. And still new. So there's everyone, Ada, everyone is trying to figure out what are the capabilities of these things. And um, I don't want to geek out too much on the AI side of things, but I think the hard thing that software companies struggle with now, and therefore the users of the software companies struggle with, is how to productize those LLMs properly. Because I do think the models are now good enough to do what we need them to do. They're good enough to cover a large amount of the use cases, but it's deploying it in the right way and building the guardrails and building the rules around it and building the experience around it so that the agent doesn't kind of go off piste and do something completely different. And that comes to really good product design. And because this is only a capability that is a year or two old,
Hmm.
everybody's still trying to work that out. Should we? Yeah, so I mean, we can probably skip this if your audience is really new, but I really just wanted to kind of say, look, there's lots out there. If you do want to get into AI and people trying to figure out, like you said earlier, Liz, like where do we start and what's the thing? Just I think there's always a useful kind of start small, pick one manual task that you know that takes more than 2 hours a week. Look for an AI tool that addresses that one specific task, and then try it and just try it for a few days and be prepared to get things wrong and you'll get some things right and you'll get some things wrong and just learn from that. It's just finding that one specific use case for you and then go on from there. All of the tools that you're using will, well, most of them should have AI built in or will have more and more AI built in. So there you could kind of sit and wait, but there are so many specialist tools that do things now. It's worth trying just to kind of know where the market is at because even though the likes of QuickBooks and Xero and Sage and all of those are going to have it in, they are also risk averse, so they're pretty slow at adopting the latest things. So some of the better stuff is not in those tools yet. They do have them, but it's not in there yet.
Hmm.
Um, like if you take Microsoft Office 365, they actually built on OpenAI, but the OpenAI and ChatGPT, its capability is way more than what you get out of Microsoft Copilot because they've put it on rails and they're a little bit nervous about releasing all these things. And it's so you can use Copilot, but you are getting underserved from what the AI capability is actually, available to do, compared to if you went out to Claude or if you went out to somewhere else, you get a lot more. And then Carbon, we've got a Carbon report. I can send this to you, Liz and Heather, afterwards to send out to your audience if you like. But Carbon does a fantastic AI report they've done for the last 3 years, scanning the market on what we're using AI for, how's it working, what's not working, what are the benefits out of it. It's a really great report. If you ever needed a justification to get into it, a business case to get into it, the statistics you get out of that report are fantastic. So let me
They
know and
are.
I'll send that to you.
No, it really is. It's a great report. I highly recommend if you have the link
I think it's
available.
down here in our slides. I can't grab
You
it,
got it?
but
Okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
think that Heather, if you want to grab it from the slides and drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I can totally do that.
Cool. So uh, Heather, do you want me to? I can probably jump in here if you like, and then I can just jump through the slides a lot quicker. Maybe is that better doing
Yeah.
that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I'll stop sharing slides and then you should have sharing ability.
It's not at the moment. It says
Oh, all right.
Uh,
Hold on. Give me a second. Um, Allow. There you go.
thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
because I'll go through this um, relatively quickly so that we don't have to get bogged down in Ada. I would love to show you what it does, and then if you're interested, if the audience is interested, we can do a proper deep dive demo later on. But um, I did want to go through a few slides and maybe show you a couple of things in the product itself, especially that Carbon integration for those of that actually are Carbon customers. I think it's really exciting. Um, so really, our vision, before I kind of jump into the detail, our vision is to help scale advisory services. And Liz, you and I spoke about this quite a lot when we first met. And one of the big pain points to scaling advisory is good quality data. If you don't have good quality data, it's kind of that garbage in, garbage out. So part of our platform we built was the period close element. So doing a monthly close, so you got good quality data, which then should be the same data that you then turn into the advisory data, the management reports, and so on. And since the Carbon acquisition, we've kind of just been heads down building a big upgrade to the period close features within Ada, and that is what was released yesterday in the US market. So the that's I just wanted to highlight that a little bit, and that's why we've been kind of quiet for the last few months. So there's a few things within Ada. One is this period close dashboard. So if you sign up to Ada, you can be a Carbon customer, but you don't have to be. If you're not don't use Carbon, you can use Ada as standalone. Is absolutely fine. It just gets more powerful with Carbon because it's integrated into the workflow. Um, but you sign up to Ada and you connect your Xero clients or your QuickBooks clients. It pulls on the clients and then all the data and analyze it. And you get this dashboard looking across your whole client list and looking at what do I need to do to close the books and or what's the status of each of those clients in order to get good quality data to do the month end close. So there's a dashboard, there's the period close checklist. That's done at a client level. And really, it's analyzing. Think of management by exception. It's analyzing all of the data within the clients and showing you here, this one's fine. All of these accounts are fine, but here's one or two things that you need to pay attention to fix them to do your close. So saves a lot of time. It saves you having to jump in and out of Xero, jump in and out of QuickBooks. Ada does a lot of that work and that thinking for you, and it builds it into a checklist. That means you can standardize your workflow and everybody in the firm can use the same checklist to do the monthly close. But importantly for that, we have the really flexible period close template and rule builder. So if you've got a bunch of clients that are retailers, you can create a template for the monthly close for retail, and then others might be property owners, and you can do a different close template for those, and they look at different things and they apply different rules to those clients. You could do a monthly close, you can do a quarterly close, you can do an annual close, whatever you decide you want to do. It's very flexible. And then analyze that data. And again, you're standardizing all of your processes to do the month end close based on those different templates and rule builders that you've done. And once you apply them to your client base, that's what powers this period close checklist and then rolls up to the dashboard. So you get a really nice way of looking at what's going on in my dashboard, what's going on in the checklist, and then you can build the templates out from there.
And I'll kind of stop right here and I'll say, I think
Yeah,
that this is the strategy that most of us are getting to, is this idea of creating a closed template. Here's the workflow of how we're going to, navigate period close for a particular client or a particular group of clients or a franchise, whatever it might be. But creating those types of workflow templates to say, this is the way that we operate. And then you're saying that Ader takes that template one step farther and then goes into the books and starts to analyze based on these rules. How are you doing?
correct. Yeah, how are you doing? And are there any anomalies in the data? What needs to be fixed? And you can, even from within Ada, if you spot there's something's not right, you can make that change on Ada and it pushes the changes back to QuickBooks. So you don't have to go back into QuickBooks. So you can recode and do all the things that you need to do. Um, we've been really building this new period close template and checklist. That's kind of what was announced yesterday and now is available for the US market. So it's 1 day old. Would love everybody's feedback on that. But think of that as the new baseline. I still think right now it's probably the best template and most flexible template and checklist that you can get in the industry. But it's our new baseline, and now we start to layer on values on top of it, including AI, where it will analyze the work that's been done and the way that you've been coding in the past and make recommendations on where to code particular transactions to based on the history and a few other things that it's looking at. Again, the goal is to give the human the most
Mhm.
information available without you having to go back and check all the things yourself. Let the AI do that. And there's a whole lot of new AI features that are going to be rolling into this on this new baseline that we've created. One of the big things that our Carbon customers also love is we have this feature that's coming out in the next quarter, probably the next couple of months, called Client Questions. And again, if you've got missing transactions or things like that, you can go and ask the client, and the software reaches out, talks to the client, gets the information, sends it back. That's going to be done through the Carbon for Clients portal. So if you are a Carbon user, it's automatically built into the same portal that you've already got for your clients. So one less thing for your clients to have to log into. But there's going to be some really interesting AI use cases built into that as well, which I won't show you today, but is already built and ready to go. So I'm excited about that. But there's the other side of Ada. So we've got the period close side, and then we've got the advisory side. And again, we've got those management dashboards. We've got that period close checklist, which gets the data quality good. And then we've got AI reporting and then also an advisory assistant. And I might jump into the product to show you what those are a little bit later. But before we do, I think the reason I think it's this from a kind of a principles or the hierarchy of needs for any accounting firm is just let's make sure we've got the data quality good before we can jump in and try and scale advisory. You can't do that if you don't have a good solid way of managing good quality data. Then you've got the layer above that, which is your systems and you know, your automations and your processes and so on. Then it's building the relationship with your clients and having a good advisory product. How do you sell something that is advisory, that is repeatable to everybody? And then that gives you that kind of that full advisory stack. So I need to I think I just want to kind of stress on that for how the architecture, the way we think about this for accounting firms. One of the other things I maybe just point out as well, what we hear a lot is a lot of clients, the this is a typical revenue profile we see for an accounting firm is that you have some clients that make a lot of money and are prepared to pay for a full virtual CFO type service. But most accounting firms do not, you know, clients don't make a lot of money and are not prepared to pay for a full virtual CFO service. It doesn't mean that I want advisory or couldn't benefit from it. They're just not going to pay thousands of dollars a month for something because they can't afford it. So how do you build a maybe an advisory light type proposition? Something that is a little bit lighter touch, a little bit more scalable, but something that they can get access to you know, an entry level advisory proposition and that gets them on the journey to the full CFO service. And that's what we're seeing a lot of people use ADA for now. So they do the month end close and they have their full advisory solution. And then they go, well, here's a new proposition. You know, it's only a couple of $100s a month, whatever you decide you want to choose for it, to price for it. But it's another touch point with your clients. And it's a much lighter and much more automated touch point internally. So it opens up that large percentage of small businesses that just are never going to pay for those full CFO services. So that's something worth thinking about.
I think that that's where most firms are trying to figure out if we keep hearing over and over again, by the end of 2026, the month-end close is going to be automated. Well, then what do we do?
Yeah,
And so this is that conversation that even if it's not a client who's going to, like you said, pay thousands of dollars for advisory services, still there has to be some type of value offer. And,
correct.
you know, it's like if we see some of the advertisements from some of the tool sets that say you can do all of your bookkeeping and accounting by yourself, you don't need anybody. Well, then what is it that the humans can offer? And this is the conversation. This is whether you call it advisory, you call it coaching. We've been hearing this for, you know, a decade, but yet how do we get there has been the struggle. And now we're able to use tools like this to help us with that.
Mhm.
That's the plan, and that's why I think you know when I mentioned that our mission is to do advisory at scale. That's kind of our North Star, and to us to get there, there's a few things we've got to build to get there. There's some foundational level things we've got to get there with, and it's not something you can do overnight. A, because you know we're still an early stage business, but B, there's a journey that every accounting firm's got to go on to get to that point.
Mhm.
So um, I just wanted to click through the product a little bit and show you a little bit of how this thing works. But really, the mission is if we can get this month end close, save you the time, automate it as much as possible, give you time back, then deploy that time, to your point, Liz, into building these relationships with these clients and starting to sell them advisory services. And if they can't pay the thousands of dollars, then at least you're getting something else from them and you're getting them on that path to
Mhm.
advisory. And then you might still have time to bring on more clients because you've got a more standardized, more, you know, a better operating procedure. So that's kind of where we want to try and help out and the problems we're trying to solve. So I won't go through a detailed um, demo here. Please, if anyone wants to see it, reach out. But um, this is the advisory, sorry, the period close dashboard. We have these two dashboards in the product. These are the advisory dashboard and the period close dashboard. So this allows you to look at all of your clients down the left see what period you're working on, the progress of them to get the month end close. So here this one at the bottom is in review. Everything's in the green, and it's all done, and the data's clean. So you can move on to the next one. And it's a really good way of managing whether you have bookkeepers in-house or bookkeepers offshore, or even if the client's doing their own bookkeeping, it's a good way to see what's actually going on here. What's the quality of the data? You can sort and filter by any of the different categories across the top, and I'll show you where these come from in a second. And you can add filters by clients, by industry type, by period type, or whatever you want to do, and get different views of your client base. Um, we mentioned the period close templates. So you can create a new template here and call it whatever you want and create a bunch of rules within and apply those rules to a cohort of clients. So either all your clients, if that's what you want to do, and just get one template working for you, or you can take those subsets maybe by different industries or client sizes or different service levels. So it's a really, really flexible way of doing that. You build these checks in, and there's a bunch of rules. This Ada comes out of the box with a standard template, which is kind of a best practice template. But if you don't want to use anyone to go and customize, you can say, right, here's a way to build all these different rules, and I can even create my new checks and call it something. Let's call it an automatic check, give it a name and a description, and it opens up all the different account types, and you can create rules and layers of rules on top of that. And so this allows the Ada to then do all the calculations on the data underlying there, whether that's from Xero or QuickBooks, gives you a standardized way of doing your close. So I'll just move on from the template and show you what it looks like when it comes through. We should go into Astoria design. So you end up with a checklist that looks like this. You've got a bank and credit cards, data quality checks, which can be done throughout the month. So you can keep doing a rolling close. There are outstanding invoices and bills, balance sheet, profit and loss, and then additional manual checks. And we're adding more like the W-9s and all those things are coming in here as well. So if you want to go into see why they're for, you click on it and it shows you what's wrong, what needs to be resolved in here. And you can open them up, have a look at the details and fix them from within Ada. Or if you want to, launch it and go into Xero or go into QuickBooks and do some work over there. So the idea is that you work your way, or your team works their way down this list, and look at these transactions that are missing a payer or a vendee, and you can select what they are and tidy it up, and off you go. You can do inconsistent category transactions. So things like Amazon, you can open it up and see. Well, for Amazon, it's 52% of the time are usually coded to office expenses. 41% of the time it's to advertising and marketing. 7% it's computer equipment. But what you'll see is when our AI turns on, it'll help with this. It's at the moment we're just training it, and it'll look at, well, actually, because this amount is quite a large amount, the AI might recommend that it's computer equipment. So it just makes that decision making much quicker, and gives additional information to the user so they can go, yep, I like that. I want to use that account. And then you can code it back to QuickBooks or Xero.
And
So it's like,
I will say that one of the things that's beneficial about doing this as you go, as opposed to waiting till the end of the year, is that the speed at which you find inconsistencies. So
Right.
the books inside of our firm for our clients are so much cleaner than they've ever been before. And it's because we're able to do these types of processes to see what's not consistent. What's coded to a parent account and shouldn't be. There's a whole bunch what looks like a duplicate vendor. It's like there's a whole bunch of different rules
yeah.
that you can create and then speedily go along and fix them instead of waiting till, quarter or year end.
Absolutely. And then you've got, if you didn't do what you were doing, you've got these massive peaks and troughs of workload. Whereas
Hmm.
this does two things. One is it reduces those peaks and troughs, so you actually you have much less to do when it comes to crunch time.
Yep.
But also it gets going to get your firm into that real-time data strategy. So the data is because it's much cleaner, you're able to offer services on top of that. That's where you can go in and talk about advisory because you don't have thousands of outstanding, reconciliations and things that aren't coded properly. You can't advise on that because the data quality is not there. So it's actually quite an important foundation for getting advisory right. Um,
I agree. I mean, the data's got to be good in order to be able to give any insights.
yeah, yeah. So, there's the different stages here where you can submit for review and close the period if you like. And for those that are Carbon users, if you click on this and, view in Carbon, it'll launch you into that particular client, into the tasks. And then you can go in and you'll see that um, down here, there's all the things, the tasks to be done, which is in sync with the period close checklist that you've just been looking at. So all of those things are show up as tasks within Carbon. And any documents that we collect or what we create, and either side of the fence are also pushed into the Carbon tasks. And so all of it is in sync into the workflow. And you can also relaunch Ada from within Carbon. So if you start in Carbon and you see all this work to be done, there's work to be done here. You can click that and it launches you into the same client in Ada. So they work really well together. Um, like I said, I don't want to go too much into too much of the detail, but you've got all of that. That's an important part of the process. Then there is the advisory dashboard. So this looks at all the clients and shows you, again, your clients down the side here, which client needs your help and why. So when we talk about advisory, if there's red lights and green lights, those are the ones where there's significant change in that business. If it's white, nothing significant has changed. So if you're really scaling advisory, you don't need to talk to every client every single month. You might not have the time to do that, but the reds and the greens is where there's things going on and they can do with your help. So this helps you spot opportunities. If you've sold them advisory, focus on the reds and the greens. If you haven't sold them advisory yet, the reds and the greens are the sales opportunities. There's change in that business, and you can reach out, be proactive, and say, "Hey, I see this is going on. Let's help you. Let's do a simple management report every month for you, and let's get you on that advisory journey. Let me do your bookkeeping. Let me do your monthly close, and let's get things sorted out."
Like that idea. So when you're seeing the color coding, that's kind of your trigger to say this client needs a little more attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So
You
it's
know, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's super flexible in order like to help spot opportunities, which without that you need to go in and out of all of the files to try and work things through. So this helps you do that. But even more so, if you use this properly and you tag your clients, depending on how big your client base is, you can then get different cohorts and views. Like you can tag your clients by anything, your churn risk or sales opportunity or service level, or they use our bookkeeping or they don't use our bookkeeping. Or you can do it by industry type. And then when you start to do it that way, you get these cohort views. And now I'm looking at all my clients in the same industry in one view. And that's super powerful to go, all right, one of them's really doing well compared to all of the others. And that becomes a benchmarking type conversation with the others. Like, hey guys, what's going on? The industry is, look at what my one client is doing this really, really well, and let's help you get into that place. So again, if you use this properly, it creates advisory opportunities within your client base.
I agree. And we've got a couple of different client questions that are coming in. And so I want to stop and talk about some of those. And one of them that's being asked is, how does this compare to what Intuit just created with the books close? And my short answer, but I'm going to pass it over to you, is this is in combination with your workflow tool. This is in combination with thinking about advisory. And so because those pieces now start to flow into each other, that creates a process that used to take a lot of time in between different apps and solutions and logging in and flowing of data that wasn't automatic is now starting to be automatic. And so that's, in my opinion, the difference. But I'll
Yeah.
pass it over to you to answer.
I think that's a really good answer, Liz. It's I think we specialize in this, and there's a lot more that's going to be coming from us in this space. This is what we focus on all day, and I think Intuit has made that announcement at Intuit Connect last year. But when the people that I spoke to that have used it have just said it's just not the quality's not quite there yet. They've got so many other things to deal with and so many things to work on. that it is got a month-end close built into it, but the quality is not quite there yet. We'll go deeper and faster into this. So it's again just that are you a jack of all trades or you're a master of one? And that's kind of where we need to focus. Um, and then yeah, this is a close so that you can deliver advisory is the way that we try to think about it. And actually, what I will say now is that all of this advisory stuff that I'm showing you, we just done a big rebuild of all the period close side of things. And the next kind of part of focus for us will be to go back to our advisory things, which has been there for a few years now, and go, look, the world has changed. Lots happened with all the new AI capabilities, and we're going to rebuild all of this, and it's going to be very different to what you're looking at now. So, you know, take a look at what you're seeing. If you like it, it's going to be there, but there's going to be, for me, the next wave of where you go with advisory is we were talking about MCP servers earlier. We were talking about building software for humans and agents. For me, where I'm trying to take this is bring your agent, plug it into Ada, and your agent will be able to build an amazing advisory solutions on top of the Ada platform for you. And so that's going to be super exciting. Yes, there'll be software there for the humans to use, and there will be agents built in to do it, like a CFO type agent, but you can also bring your own, plug it in and do your own thing on top of it. So that's a
Okay.
little bit of roadmap stuff.
Well, and I think that that's helpful for us to be
Sure.
in on so that way we understand as we're strategizing which solutions do we choose, what's the long-term picture. And part of it is that we want to be able to have our workflow, we want to have our review, and we want to be able to offer advisory. Those are the,
Yeah.
the key areas that we're all seeing AI being introduced quite heavily. So the solutions that have got that in a plug and play type scenario, that's going to make it a whole lot easier for firms. So I think that my question to you is, what's the relationship between Carbon and Aider? So what does that workflow look like?
Yeah, so first of all, you don't need to be a Carbon user to use Ada. Everything you're seeing here, you can do on your own without Carbon. So you don't, Ada is standalone. But
Okay.
if you do have Carbon, then what you do when you sign up is you map the client. So you go, here's the clients I've got connected to Ada, and you map the clients to Carbon, and then they're in sync with each other. And once that's done, at least, starting with the period close side of things, all of it is in sync with Carbon and as far as the tasks and the workflows you've got to do. So with built into Carbon, they have some automatic recurring workflows and tasks, and Ada becomes one of those. So again, if you jump into this and you have a look at the clients, you maybe go into that same client, you'll see here's the tasks that have got to be done by who for this client as part of the workflow, and built into that, you'll see Ada is there. There's the month-end close. These are the outstanding checks that need to be done. And so everything is measured and managed from within Carbon. And this completely is in sync with what's going on with Ada. If you don't have Carbon, you don't get that, obviously. But if you do, then all of it's in sync and it automatically becomes part of the workflow and the tasks to do the month-end close.
And if somebody is a Carbon user, do they automatically get Aider or do they need to sign up for Aider?
You sign up for Ada. So
Okay.
it's an upsell. We charge for the number of clients you connect up to Ada. Carbon charges for the seats, the number of people that use Carbon. Ada is a per client per month fee.
So really what's happening is there's a relationship that's there that's very tight to be able to say, again, it's workflow, it's review, and it's advisory.
Yeah.
So building the bridge of those three needs that it's in, every single firm, whether you're a bookkeeping firm or an accounting firm or tax firm, you've got to be able to have good data and communication between your client, between your team, and then the advisory piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I'm gonna just pause. I'd love to go ahead and launch our poll real quick, just because we're right around coming up. So I'm gonna just do that real quick, and then we'll continue on with the demo. So, would you like to learn more about Aider? And if so, then what we'll do is we'll pass along your information over to Brendan and his team, and they'll reach out to you. So
Thanks, Heather.
leave that up for
Thanks.
just a minute.
I might show two other quick things whilst that's going on. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So just I wanted to talk a little bit about the AI advisory stuff that we do. So if I go from that dashboard and I drill down into a particular client, there's a whole lot of insights here. One is what's going on, how big is that client, and what's changed with that client. This will help you with pricing. Again, help you move off the our engagement a couple of years ago was based on them being small and now they're big. So it helps you get information around pricing them better. But there's a whole lot of insights on Ada on every one of these clients, profitability and costs and gross profit, and there's a whole lot of charts and graphs. You can measure versus historical data or versus budget if you've got the budget set up in QuickBooks or Xero. Um, you can share these insights just one at a time, or you can compile them into a report. So on the report, and this is where it gets interesting with AI, and what we see a lot of people doing really cool things with is you can create a report template on Ada. And when once you've done that, you assign that template to your clients. And again, you can create a template per client or a template per group of clients. And those that invest in getting this right, I could create a template for Liz herself. And every time we do the month end close and it produces the management report automatically, this will be written for Liz. So it's got the charts and graphs that I know Liz needs for her business in the management report. The AI will write the executive summary and the action points. So your draft one of the management report is done. But what makes it really special for Liz is that the underlying prompt that I've saved in the executive summary could be something really, really specific to her and her business. This write this for Liz. She likes this kind of language. She doesn't like that. She loves to drink cocktails. She doesn't drink beer. She does this, she does that, whatever it was. And then when once it writes the management report, it actually feels to the client like you've written this thing specifically for them. And some people use that go, oh, Liz drinks beer. Good to know. Um, People love this. Like we've got people that are using it to translate into different languages, to do a management report in different languages, to do one of our accounting firms has a client that loves Formula One, and the whole thing is done in a Formula One theme. And so it's just you can make it really, really customized at a client level. And again, that's using it's going to take you no time other than setting it up. And once that's done, way more scalable to make something more personal, to create something that is a very simple management report that is, again, maybe that advisory light type solution. That's something that is you've done the close, now your management report's ready to go. It took you no time. You can send it out, you can sell it in at a lower cost price. And the last thing is our advisory assistant. So think of this as ChatGPT or Claude Chat built into Ada, but in a secure way, it's got access to your client data. You don't have to upload things and redact things and when you send them in. And you can ask it to do questions, and it's trained to be an accounting assistant, an advisory assistant. So it understands accounting more than those generic models will. You can build your own prompts and save them here. And we've got a prompt optimizer that shows you if you've written a bad prompt, here's how to write a good prompt, which might be you might know how to do a great prompt, but most people we're seeing don't. And a lot of people in the teams don't know how to do that. So use the optimized prompt and let the AI do all the work for you. You could ask it to calculate financial ratios, what's the financial health of this client? Build me a chart or a graph that shows revenue over wages for the last 12 months. Help me analyze this client, prepare for an advisory meeting. So using AI to do lots of clever things, again, to help you scale it and save you time and add more value to your clients. So that's how all these things come together is the period close to create good quality data, the advisory to spot opportunities, and then to deliver simple management reports and prepare for meetings and so on. That's what I wanted to share as a quick run through of what we do.
We very much appreciate that. And while we're switching, I'm going to put this up. So you've got a QR code. Do you want to talk about what the QR code is for?
Yeah, so this is just if you want to find out any more, actually get a better demo than what I've just given you, where we can go into the details. Someone smarter than me can show you all of that. Scan this, it'll allow you to just sign up and connect with someone at either Ada or Carbon with the same thing and getting closer. But This will just allow you to book a demo with someone and get into the details a little bit more. And there's no commitment, but it's just you might find a little bit more. If you have questions, you want to find out more, they'll be able to answer them for you.
I appreciate you answering questions as we've been going. But there's a few more slides in here. Are these
These
things
are
you?
optional, Liz, if you want to go through them. The key point, I was digging out some stats for this and just looking at the amount of money going into AI. So kind of Ada is part of this, but really just um, what I mean here is that the amount of money going into artificial intelligence generally is just outrageous. Um, Even this is out of date since I did this a few weeks ago. But OpenAI just done the biggest private investment round in the history of the world and going for a massive IPO valuation. Anthropic raised a whole lot of money just yesterday. I think Google put in something like $30 billion into Anthropic yesterday. So like the amount of money is just outrageous. And I think the important thing is where the money is going. Like these investors won't put money into things that are not AI anymore. So it's all going in there. And the downflow from that, the downstream is where it hits the likes of Ada and Carbon and everybody else, where we're building on top of these platforms that are getting all of this money. So that's it's just for people who think that it was just a fad, it's coming and it's going. It's just getting the amount of money is getting more and more and more because the use cases are just getting so powerful now.
Well, and I'll say that the advisory opportunity for bookkeepers, accountants is huge. And so I'm teaching a class about it at Scaling New Heights, and it's like there's an opportunity there because just like us on an individual basis, not just in the profession, we're inundated with AI everywhere. So are our clients. They want to know how to make more money. They want to know how to have more work-life balance, just like we do. And so this push that we're feeling, they are also feeling. So you probably are already having your clients talk to you about that kind of desire to start utilizing AI apps. But this is a big trend. So we're seeing it, we're feeling it.
Yeah. And I'll send these out so you don't need to worry too much about this, but these are some of the insights from the carbon report. So we can send those out afterwards.
Wonderful.
And and then that's probably it. Like if it's the industry is moving there. I would love to help out. I'm happy to share this stuff. We could spend an hour just talking about what AI is doing, what it's not doing well. That's my passion. I've been building in it for a long time. It doesn't really matter if Ada is involved or not, but we're probably going to be running the AI summits again this year. And again, that's the purpose of those is just dig into what's really going on. How do you build stuff? How do you come away with an agent that works for you and your firm? So love this stuff and a real privilege to be able to be here and talk to you and the team.
Well,
Yes, well,
we're
thank
glad
you
that
so
you're
much for
here.
joining us. For sure. This has been incredibly helpful. Thank you so much for taking time, especially so early, uh, coming in
Very
Right.
jealous
here.
of your cocktails, but it's yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't had my first coffee yet.
Almost 9 now.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, you and I have such a blast with Appy Hour. For all of you who want to go and check out what's available on YouTube, here's the QR code so that way you can see all of those recordings. If you're wondering what's up next, we're going to be doing a deep dive into AI in the tax world. So, tax prep, tax planning, and then also sales tax. So, this is a big area. We're seeing AI across the board and a lot of the different solutions. And whenever it comes to tax, there's a wide variety. So, we're going to be looking at that on May 12th. And then on May 26th, we're actually going to be doing a deep dive into that sales tax solution. So if you've been curious about sales tax, what's been happening there, there are some big AI pushes. So I would say tune in for that. And then on June 9th, we're going to be hosting App Inventory. And so they're going to come and they're going to talk about what that solution does. That's the one that looks at all the different apps that your client is using and it evaluates, is it a duplicate? How many users are using it? So it does a really good job of looking at how necessary is that app and are they doing some duplicate things? And then it also does some cool things on the, if you're doing app advisory side, it can tell you maybe what a better solution is for that particular client, or a client that isn't using an app at all for maybe a particular area. It can start to look at what maybe industry specific apps should they be using if you're doing app advisory. So
Yeah,
we've got some
absolutely.
cool
It
things
does some
coming.
other really cool things like on the expense side as well, where it will give you some metrics on what's being used and what's not and what you're spending. So really cool.
Yeah, and they've made some huge strides in just a very short time period. So that's going to be a great episode. So I hope everyone
Mhm.
joins us.
Yeah, and just a couple of other things that Liz and I are attending over the next month. We'll both be at the Growth Forum in San Diego. So if you're going, come by and say hi to us. We're doing a session on your 12-month AI roadmap for your farm. So be exciting.
It will be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And I love that we're getting ready to start conference season. Here we
Yeah.
go. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Take care and until next time.
See you
Thanks.
at the
Thanks again,
conferences.
Brandon.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.